Hi. So it feels absolutely amazing to be back in the college as a TED speaker. I passed out of this like 14 years ago. And when I was there, there was no TED then, but then when I was there, I never thought I would do all of this, right? So I was not even an athlete then. So I would like to take you back to a moment on September 7th, 2025. So we had all set ourselves, we had got ready with a couple of friends, we were waiting for a cab, and the cab rolled in. And then there was a beautiful lady, she was going to drive us to the pier. And she asked us, oh, you guys are going to Catalina, is it? Any good party scenes tonight? Well, I said, no, we are actually swimming the channel tonight. She said, wow, what? Are you guys swimming the channel? Catalina out there, have you even heard about it before? I said, yes, we know about it. I've done another channel before. I've done the English channel last year. So yes. Well, when I was 5 years old, when I actually went into the water, something actually pulled my leg, and ever since then, I've never been into that water again. And you are telling me that you're going to swim the channel tonight. I was like, okay, man, yes, we're going to swim the channel. But within me, I was thinking, I'm already nervous. This is the last thing I wanted to hear from anyone. Okay, we came closer to the pier. The ferry was actually waiting for us. And then we got into the ferry. And then, we started leaving the docks. The color of the water changed from green to deep blue. And it was somewhere in the afternoon. The water was quite choppy. And we knew that, we would take something around 15, 16 hours. And around the same time the next day, we knew that we would be swimming back in the same waters. Yeah, so it was quite exciting. We were nervous. We knew everything. But yes, that was it. So let's go back a little. I come from a very orthodox South Indian family. So all that I knew throughout my life was to study and find a job, right? And that's what I did. So I came here, I studied, I found a job, and life went on. And I was working in an IT company. I didn't know what to do over the weekends. Like, I wanted to channelize myself somewhere. It was just work. And that's where all of this started. And that's where the whole adventure began. I climbed a lot of mountains in the Himalayas. I've done a couple of 6,000-meter peaks. And then I also completed 3 super mountaineer titles, that is 200, 300, 400, and 600 kilometer rides in a row. I've done 3 of that. And then I also went on to do the Paris Press Paris. It's a very prestigious event for endurance cycling. It's a 1,200 kilometer event, cycling event in Paris. And I completed that in 94 hours. And then after which, I also swam the English Channel. And then I completed the Ironman as well very recently in Colombo. And with all of this, I have a full-time job, and I'm an AI strategist. I'm a mother to a very naughty 8-year-old, and I'm an endurance athlete. Well, the Catalina Channel came. The Catalina Island came. We got off the pier. And then, we got out and then we settled in. It was beautiful. So this island was very small, okay? So it just had 1 departmental store, 1 restaurant, and 1 hotel. So we had to wait here till about 10:30 p.m. for the boat to come and for us to swim back. So we were finding for a place to stay back, stay and rest. The whole island shuts off at about 6 p.m., right? So we also needed a shack to rest for the day. So we started settling down. We found a place and all of that. And then, this thoughts keep playing, right? I had done a lot of these events earlier, but then what was very special about this was it was a night swim. And night swim is scary. It's like pitch dark, right? And I had read and heard about so many things, like I told you. I also heard from that lady and everything. So I was trying to divert myself, I went into a departmental store right there. And then I thought I'll buy some souvenir bag for my son. So when I went into the departmental store, there were nice things. But then what I thought was I'll buy a small magnet. And that magnet also had a shark face just like that, which said Catalina Island. I'm like seeing all of this all around me, right? This was the last thing that I wanted. Well, I didn't buy that magnet because I didn't want to attract any more negativity for me. I didn't buy it, I just walked out. And then I'd also read this, right? If you see, there were a lot of shark attacks previously. There was a shark attack just 2 weeks ago when, we had. So the Pacific Ocean there is actually famous for cookie cutter sharks. So they actually form, like when they bite you, it's the size of a cookie. They bite and pull the flesh out. So we'd heard about all of this. My father said, why the hell are you doing this? You have an 8-year-old. My mother was so nervous, she didn't want to say anything. My husband had given up on me because he knew she was anyways going to do it. No point saying. And then my friends also stopped talking to me. They were like, man, what's wrong with you? So I had nobody, but somewhere in me I wanted to do it. But when I was sitting there, all ready to do it, I was like, do I really need to do this? Right? And that's where that fear was coming in. For a moment, I just paused and then I thought, so I had heard about a lot of things, I had seen about all of this. So I just felt for a moment that from where am I operating this fear from? Okay? Somewhere I felt that I was operating this fear either from my past experiences or it was the fear that what if something happens, right? It was not guaranteed. So then for a moment I just sat down and I took a deep breath and then, I just thought to myself, the fear that I have is either from my past or from the future. Let me just live this moment. And that's when I enjoyed the sun going down and the white sand beach and everything. Yeah, but I was still nervous. So the evening went on, we had dinner, and at 10:30 I saw the boat coming towards us. So we all geared up and got onto the boat. So I got onto the boat at 10:30 p.m. and then this was a relay swim. So I got a chance to swim at about 12 o'clock, right? So this was how this was how dark it was. It was pitch dark, right? All that you can see is that kayak and me swimming there next to me with 2 lights. So that was what I was supposed to do. And I was super nervous, so I was standing at the boat and my chance came, and then I jumped in. The fear was so much that I was trembling, and that was the kind of fear that probably I'd never felt ever. It's like 10x times, the result fear that you get. So it was so bad. And then I jumped in, and then I swam. There was so much chaos in the head that, it was taking a lot of time to settle down, but I knew that, I have to settle down because I can't do anything much about it. So I settled down, I started taking strokes, I started counting my strokes. And very soon, I started to settle. I was okay. And then after that, whenever I'm scared, I sing this song to myself. I'm unstoppable, I'm unstoppable. So that is what I started singing to myself, right? And then soon, what I observed was one of the most beautiful things. Every time I took a stroke into the water, what I actually saw was, bioluminescence. It was this blue light that is actually pulling towards myself. And that was one of the most beautiful phenomena that I had ever seen. Putting the head inside the water in that darkness was really scary because I couldn't even see my fingers through. But when I was pulling it each time, that blue light that was coming was just brilliant. And then when I put my head up to actually breathe, I could see the stars and then, the full moon that night, which paved like a white carpet for us to swim. And this feeling was just amazing, right? And then soon, my night swim was over. I also got to do a day swim. So you can actually see me there in that small cap, that white cap just below the kayak, that's me. And that's how small and minute I actually looked in front of that huge container ship. And that was a container ship that we actually saw on the docks yesterday that had come there so far. So this picture looks very different. I mean, it looks that, we're very far off, but then at that minute, when I was swimming towards it and things like that, it was like super overwhelming to see such a huge container ship. Because, from such a distance, you can actually smell the diesel in the water. And it was that way, and you can see how choppy the water was. And that day, it was also very difficult to, go parallel to the kayak. And then, all of this thought about, what can happen, right? And what would happen had kind of transformed somewhere that night. So instead of asking a question that, what if something would happen? I started thinking what I would probably discover. And that is what that night swim actually taught me. There was something in that fear. So that was about the day swim. And after this, we completed the swim in about 12 hours, 42 minutes. And it was amazing to have that feeling of stepping onto the sand after 12 hours of continuous swim. And then very soon, in 2 days, I also swam the Alcatraz. So all of you might have heard of the Great Escape from Alcatraz. So the reason why it was a great escape was because, the whole, the ocean around that place is actually, it has a lot of whales, sea lions, otters, and all of this. So that's why it was considered dangerous. Well, I went and swam that as well. That felt very small after, the fears that I had overcome here. So, and that was it. It was amazing to hold the Indian flag, on the shore after that. And so I just wanted to leave you with this thought, right? So I'm not here to motivate any one of you to actually swim the channel. So what I only wanted to say is, whenever you have this moment of doubt or this moment of fear, right? Just wait and think, from where are you operating this particular emotion? And then I'm sure there will be a way, there will be a blue light in everyone, and you will be able to find it and do what you can. So I leave you here, and thank you so much for listening in. That's it.